Are we live? Has it come up?
Not yet.
Our techno friend Dom is going to see if it's working.
Come on, work. Come on.
Well, it's saying that we're live on my YouTube studio, so we're going to go live. Once again, technology proving that it's working. So, hello, welcome to Black Crow Gaming. Tonight you've got your host, Arron. I've got Dom, and I've got Dave. So, Dom's from Mind Goblins, Davey's from 6++. Guys, give us a wave.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hello. So we're going to get you into intros. So obviously Dom Maidlow, he was with us last week. He is the face of Mind Goblins. He is also the face of Let's Talk Wargaming. And he has got one hell of a face. That beard is something to be appreciated. So we thought his face was so good, guys, that we would give him a treat, as this is his second time. And people who come onto our podcast regularly, they get a little treat. So here we go. Dom, Mind Goblins.
That's well cool.
So we thought we'd put you with your fellow gobbos, just, dropping some bombs as you do in the tournament scene. And this week, once again, I had the pleasure of going to a tournament, Peterborough Slam, and at Peterborough Slam, I got to play next to multiple times my good friend Davey from 6++, and I thought we'd get a cool photo for everybody, just to show us having a great time. There we are. Look at that beautiful ginger. I was going to swear then, but I decided not to. Look at that beautiful ginger man.
Yeah, leave it for 2 minutes, man. We said 2 minutes, right?
Yeah, we did say 2 minutes. You know what? He kept offering me over the weekend to give me the girlfriend experience, but I'm yet to experience it. I did offer even to be the little spoon, and that's still not there. What's going on, Davey?
I know, man. I'm still, to be honest, I'm quite put out by the fact that you gave Dom massive kudos on his beard, and actually, just ignoring the fact that I'm standing right here.
Yeah, well, you know what? Sometimes I've got to bring you down to help get me back up.
That's fair.
And obviously this week we're missing a key part of the team, and unfortunately he couldn't make it with us this week. But we thought we would honour him anyway. Here he is, Elder Toby, in his glory.
Look at him.
Look at him go.
He's having a great time.
He is having a great time. So, folks,
is that best general at Peterborough Slam, Toby Bennett?
It was best, most sporting. The Elder. So I heard from down the Great, and the reason he got most sporting was because everybody was getting a Bible. I could be wrong.
Oh, almost like getting a buy.
Or they're getting a buy. Well, it could have been both. Who knows? But Toby, you're going to stay there for a little while. We're going to keep you around because we miss you. So I thought as we're going into this, there's some certain things we want to bring up tonight. So we're going to bring up a unique army we found over the tournaments, and I thought we'd go into it quite quickly. And me and Davey both had the pleasure of seeing this army whilst we was at Peterborough Slam. Dom has seen it, but I'm gonna let him see it again. So I've called it Cowabunga, and it is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles converted Votan army.
So good.
The full army, every single head, everything about it has been completely changed. Even so much the judgment tokens are pizza boxes.
That's epic. It's so cool.
Which, what can we say? It is cool. So we're going to go through. Let's have a look at some more. Here we go. Here's some more characters. He's even done all of the heads, as you can see, have been 3D printed. And it just works. It just works. It's such a cool idea. Look, all the turtles there. He's taken the time to do all of the different masks. And then right at the end, there's a few more. So, look, lads, we had a chat before we were coming on stream, and I said I want to talk about something quite important tonight. And I want to talk about controversy in Warhammer 40k tournaments. Now, because obviously the Warhammer World Championship happened this weekend, and it wouldn't have been an event if there wasn't a little bit of controversy. Even so much so, even our smaller events have some controversy. Now, as part of this stream, I've said we're not going to name names. So I'm going to get it. Let's kick this off. Okay, so Davey, what do you think about when you see drama at a tournament? Like, how do you feel about that?
I fucking love it. I really love it. Like, honestly, ask anyone in my team. I'm the first one who's like, is there drama? Share the drama with me. I want to know. Give me it. Give me it now. All I want to know is what's the gossip. It's even better if you know who it is as well. Like, that adds the spice. But it's just like, I think a lot of people. So I watch football kind of on and off, right? I'll go through a phase. Maybe I'll watch a couple of football games and then that's it. But you know what I'm always looking at? The transfer gossip. Why? Because I want to know the shit, man. I want to know all. And that's what I'm like with tournament gossip at 40k as well.
And it gets round, doesn't it? I mean, I
Wildfire.
call Reddit the cesspit because it is a cesspit of hate, it's a cesspit of grumpiness, but also it's a pretty good place to get gossip.
Yeah, man.
Really is.
And like we do love it, but also there is some pretty negative knock-on effects, and we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about something I don't think necessarily is good for the game in some ways, but in others I think there's some benefits. Now, so I'm going to talk about strength of schedule, and Dom, I want you to tell the viewers, if they don't know, what is strength of schedule? How does that play in a tournament?
Yeah, so this is a good controversial topic because it's got me a few times. But like strengths of schedule is basically as you go throughout an event. So not so much on like a 3-day event. It's more for like a 6-game event over 2 days. So your GTs and majors and super majors. So what happens is your kind of final ranking gets judged by pizza boxes. No, it doesn't. It gets judged by how many wins your opponents have, and so if you've played harder opponents, you rocket up the strength of schedule. And if you've had lower opponents, like who have scored a lot less and lost games, all that sort of stuff, or maybe even dropped from the game, or controversially had their scores zeroed, it affects you and all the other players that have played them. So what it's kind of the common thing at the moment, which I really disagree on, is you win all your games and whatever you are, so 4-1, 5-0, 3 whatever you are, your final ranking is kind of judged on the opponents you've played. And it does get quite touchy in some areas when you kind of, let's say you've won 5 games and you just lose your last one, and it's only just, but then someone who had been almost playing better players but not getting as the best score will actually jump ahead of you because you might have scored more points than them, but over the whole tournament, like you could have got 500 and the last game just got 50. Still, if you jump into a 5-1 bracket, then the 5-1 bracket is split between the strength of schedule. So yeah, it's an interesting thing with tournaments. It's kind of the passion to do it at the moment because that's what Games Workshop want. But I do not necessarily think it should actually be included. I think maybe for day 2 pairings, that's how it should be used. So like the best players are playing the best players. So yeah, that's what it is basically.
But Dom, you said GW want this. Is it specifically an edict from GW, or is it? I thought it was something they just decided at UKTC.
I thought
so. It was a recommendation. It came from their tournament pack. So when Games Workshop released their tournament pack, they were they released this sentence saying about how sometimes people can get an easier ride at tournaments because they might not play some of the best players, and they get an easier ride to the top. Yes, that can happen, and that's fine.
Yeah,
that happens. Some people do end up that way, but eventually it will balance out, and they'll end up playing people of a similar level.
Really though, because if you constantly play, so say I got beat off someone, then I played say a bottom end of the table player for my next game. My next game, I'm going to play a bottom end again ish, and then by the time the tournament's ended, I might play someone on my level potentially. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So there's ways on BCP that you can randomize it. Mm-hmm. So based on your win rates, so you could win, then you get randomly paired. So it doesn't matter what you played previously or what you scored. You could pair into somebody who also scored 100. and also had an easy ride in the first game. And it does happen. Sometimes armies just don't go well into each other. You know, there's certain matchups out there that just don't work. What the problem is when there is drama, because drama happens. People get upset with one another. You know, someone might suggest going outside for a fight, which we
We're talking about a specific circumstance there, Arron.
yeah, maybe we should. But anyway,
Did that actually happen?
Yeah,
well,
man.
yeah, it has done. And
What?
so, but the problem with that is okay. That person then takes a 0, the other person takes 100. Then say one of them drops out. What do you think that does to the people they've already played? Tanks them, drops them.
Yeah, man, bins it off completely.
Yeah, it basically means no matter how well that person does, say they get a 4-1, or they get a 5-0, but there's another person who's also got a 5-0. If their players have dropped and didn't perform in the rest of the tournament, they have literally 0 chance against a guy that's had all 5 of their games. All 5 of their opponents play 5 of their games.
Yeah, it's a bit rough because that's what I was worried about at EA Slam, because I played someone who dropped, and I was concerned that would actually influence my score going into like the final pairings, because I knew I'd lose the last game because it was stupid elder, but I was worried that because that person had dropped, I would not like be higher up, even though I got the full 500 like the 5 games before. It's weird. It's a weird mechanic.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, right? Because here's the thing: there's 2 ways of doing it, to my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong. There's this strength of schedule, which, as we've pointed out, there are big flaws there. But then there's also battle points. So say you 100 people, and they drop or do whatever you want, they can get on with their weekend. Say, you know, I mean, it was very sad at the weekend. One of the lads had a relative go in hospital, so he had to go, right?
Yeah.
Likewise, some people can just be lazy and go, I'm not going back. But if they do that, that doesn't affect your score because you've got your battle points. And you are completely in control of that. On strength of schedule, they take it out of your control. And as you say, you could be unjustifiably penalised because someone went, you know what? I'm going to go and have a curry and get pissed with my pals and then not go in tomorrow.
Yeah.
And this is where the next controversy comes in, lads. How do you feel about when you've got strength of schedule, but then you introduce cash prizes?
Oh, man. Cash prizes in 40k is dirty, man. It is dirty. I mean, some of the other things I've heard from the world champs are probably all conjecture. Probably not true.
Okay, so as you've already said, you love the drama. So let's get into it, guys. This is Davey's drama time with Black Crow Gaming.
It's like, what do you Deirdre? No. Like, I mean, so there's people saying that certain players shuffled their secondaries back into their decks. There's people who said that they found the secondary cards. So I always count up the secondary cards if someone's doing tactical. It's just a habit. I used to play Magic. I like shuffling cards, all right? And I just got the cards, have a quick count, and then I'm happy. But apparently someone found a deck of cards without the full 16. Oh dear, imagine that. I've heard, what were the other ones? Yeah, but then someone might do that to take out a secondary they don't want. But what if a player...
capture enemy outpost turn 1?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, but then you probably want that for later in the game sometimes, especially if you're me. But if you are... I also heard, I mean, these are all rumours, right? All conjecture. But these are just examples of what people could do. There's ones where you could take your opponent's cards while they've left the table, then take the ones you don't want them to get out. So there's that one. There's also, and this is not at the World Champs, but I know there was, so War Games Workshop is a venue I used to go to all the time. They have tournaments, and they had big concerns about people cheating by marking cards.
Yeah.
And it's totally doable. You just have to...
And you feel it, just all you need is like a little scratch on the side of the card, so when you're shuffling, you can feel it with your thumb.
Tell me more, Dom.
No, I don't use cards. I don't use cards for that reason. I do everything by the app, and I let my opponent hit hit the button because because I played in I think it was 7th edition when they had the tactical objective card and used to draw 3, and twice opponents cheated against me because they were using the tactical objective like rigged decks, and it was just mental.
It's a good shot though. That's a good way of getting around it.
Yeah, and that was what one of them got caught with. They literally got caught with that on the side of some of the cards. He'd just bent them slightly, or he'd like roughed them up a little bit. And I didn't call it out, but one of the more competitive players at the time called him out on it, and it was kicked from the venue.
Yeah, I mean it's totally deserved. I mean it's going on in Magic for years. There was a massive thing with similar thing. People just scratching the back of the card, so they knew. Yeah. More important in Magic because you know what card you're going to draw next, so you can plan. Whereas I think that to an extent, I mean, with my tactical cards, I always offer them to my opponent to shuffle before I draw them, or I always shuffle them. And as long as you're not looking, like as long as you're not like keep shuffling until I get that card that I want, you know, you bang on. But yeah, it's a rough one, man.
I mean, like in any sport, any game, anything, there's an element, there's a chance of unsportsmanship behaviour and cheating. Or there's an element of someone just being an absolute bellend at a table. I mean, sometimes you're going to come across it. I mean, I think the main issue is, and I think it's something that, as a TO myself, I think I need to consider in the future, is strength of schedule, I think, is more appropriate for when you've got 50, 60, 70, 80 players. And it's less likely that they're going to be affected by a drop. Because when you get that many players that are going to go 5-0, you need a way of working out other than points. Because if say 3 people scored 500 points in each one, you need another way of working out who's going to be the top player. So that has to exist. What I think would be the best thing for the hobby was if there was a way of saying only top 8 go strength of schedule.
Okay.
And bracket it each one. Now the reason I say that is because. Bear in mind, I also think that if somebody drops out, that shouldn't act as like a negative, because it does. It counts as a negative at the moment in time because of the way that the percentages are worked. But I think there needs to be some fine tuning on strength of schedule.
Yeah. So potentially, what about this as an idea? You actually get more points if you force your opponent to quit 40k. Like that seems like a really good. So they drop out of the tournament because they don't want to play the game anymore because they've been absolutely battered. So you should get more points.
I think you're onto something.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, because then also maybe I'd be able to get a hold of certain models on release days without ending up on feckin' eBay 3 weeks later at £500.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're gonna move on from this topic. We've kind of given our point. We're not so sure on strength of schedule at the minute. It's negatively affected us all. Actually, Dom, didn't you want to bring up how it's negative? You know, you've been in a moment where you've been zeroed, right? And I think it's really important actually that we kind of talk about like these feel bads, because if that was gone on strength of schedule, because you got zeroed, it's crap for you, obviously. But then we talked about this just before. That then widely affects several other people. So it's not just a feel bad for you. It's a feel bad for other people. Yeah. So
the opponent obviously is negatively affected as well because your scores would have been worse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it affects loads of people over the tournament. But basically, at the last team tournament, not the ITT, the one I think it was in March or something like that. There was basically the team tournament where Mind Goblins were playing Ignite, and basically I just beaten Vic by I think it was a really close game, 10 points, and previously he'd got me 2 times before, so it really meant a lot for me to actually beat him. And then it was we'd finished the game, we were running low on time in the rounds, and we were just so flustered because like it was so on a knife's edge. Like it came down to like these tiny little minute details of the game, and we had time. We finished the game with time, but we were kind of like rushed to kind of put the scores in. So as we were doing it, we were like, this is like really friendly doing it. We both agreed who the winner, but it was just like a negligible on this like last point. So what we did was like we just agreed like on a 4-up. Let's just say you get it because we don't have time left on the clock to really go through all this. So I'm happy. I proposed it to him. I'm happy to, you know, 4-up and you get it. And it was just like, yeah, that's fine. Is the most honest way of doing it? Because it wouldn't have affected who won the game, but it might have meant that he got like an extra point on the team scoring, which is always helpful. Tio didn't agree with what we're doing because we're in our own little bubble of like stress, anxiety, and just adrenaline that was going through, and we were just having a very nice close conversation between us. Our teams were letting us just talk it because they understood that like I'd won, but we need to just get the points right. And before we'd literally put the score in, the TO basically just stepped in. We didn't even know he was having a conversation with us because we were just so full of we're just in like a fight or flight sort of like adrenaline mode. And like he just stepped in and just goes, right, you guys haven't put the score in, even though there's still time in the round. I've been telling you from behind here, like put the score in, put the score in, put the score in, put the score in, all this sort of stuff. And the score was on the sheet in front of us, and we agreed, we ticked everything like that. And it was just that last thing that roll on that dice just to see if you got an extra point. And that was it. There was no cheating. There was no nothing. That's all it was. And he waded in and just goes, right, you both zeroed. And next time you do anything, you're both getting yellow cards. And it was completely mental to like go through this like incredible scenario where I've just been Vic and I've worked so hard to do it, and now it's just been taken away from me. And now that my team's affected, his team's affected, like, because obviously he's Ignite beat Mind Goblins and then went on to try and play in the finals. But if there was like a tiebreaker that they needed so many points to go to the semi-finals, they would have missed out. And then what it actually meant that even though we basically were like something silly like 20 points or something like that below third, but my points would have been able to get us to third, and we would have actually come third in the whole tournament. And because of that, we didn't come third, and it just affected a lot of things. And like Ignite and Muggles, we were so like, we just felt so down about it after it, and it was just a big feel bad, and it didn't really need to be done. It was almost like to basically like slap the back of the hand and just go like, I'm making a point here because it was on the top tables. And it was I feel like it was unjust, but because it was like he didn't understand what we were going through, because we were going through this like really intense moment, friendly intense moment, not like aggro, or we weren't disagreeing with anything. We were totally on the same page. It was just we were in our own little bubble, and we weren't really paying attention to the surrounding area where their TO was saying put it in, put it in, put it in, put it in like that. But you know, it happens. But what the more story is about how it can affect everyone else, and that is a big example of what happened with me and my team. It was a bit. Yeah, it just took a bit of steam out of the whole weekend, because you know we'd worked so hard, and now just getting a zero means almost the weekend could be a complete loss. And
you've spent so much money to get there. You've put so much preparation into it, and then someone's got a hard on for zeroing Dom Maidlow and Vic VJ.
Yeah,
I'm going to be the ref that gets to do that. Oh, amazing! That's what it sounds like to me. But then again, I'm a cynical asshole.
No, I don't disagree.
So from my point of view, I as a TO, I said to you, Dom, I always felt like that was a bit of a power play from the TO. I don't think that was necessary at any point. It is a feel bad, and this is what we're talking about. This is what Strength Schedule can do, because at that moment in time, those two players were only thinking about what would happen to those two. But when you walk it away and you actually dissect the ripples of effects from that game should not affect anybody else around them.
No.
But it will do, inevitably. So there's been a couple of questions in chat, and I'm going to go.
Also, what's the downside of that outcome, right? The outcome that Dom and Vic wanted would have taken 1 minute more. Everyone would have went home 1 minute later.
Yeah. It was literally like 10 seconds, and we literally roll the dice, or whatever we're doing, and then we had the phone open with the scores already in, and we just had to do that. If we hadn't have done send, if we hadn't have just gone maybe this, then it would have been fine, and we would have carried on. But it was it was a bit extreme.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Right, guys, let's get into these questions. So
Go on.
Datsun Des, I think SOS is okay at big events, but Battle Points has its downside as well. If you get a slow player and don't clock, you might only get 3 rounds in. He recently had a couple games like that at the weekend. So how do you guys feel about that? Like, if you are just Battle Points and you get slow played, do you think that does happen? But do you think that means maybe 40k to mitigate that? We should all be playing on a clock.
You should always be playing on the clock, but you can kind of gauge. I always find you can kind of gauge the sort of level or player that you're playing against, and it's kind of up to you as well to manage the time, because like you might first 2 turns always take ages, but then after the first 2 turns, most stuff is dead already on the field. So it's kind of like the point where you go, right, we need to speed up here. And like we need to finish these 5 turns. Like I won't ever finish a game without finishing all 5 turns, because there's just too many points involved, and for you and your player, you don't really know what can happen. Like let's say I was playing Arron. I'm playing like a Manny list where it's big ball control for the first 3 turns, but then my whole army dies. I could literally just make sure that you don't get any points for the 3 turns, and then we clock out. That's the example of slow playing, and then Arron would feel really bad. But then it's up to Arron, as well as like there's 2 people playing the game, to be like, don't be playing really slow. We need to either work out the time now, get the TO, and we'll start a clock, or you need to play faster. And it's kind of up to both players as well. But it comes with experience as well. Like people might be new to kind of to clocks and tournaments and that sort of thing, and like never be afraid of using a clock, because it speeds you up. You might get stressful at the first turn, but it speeds you up, keeps everything honest, and keeps everything moving. But don't be afraid if someone just goes, do you want to use a clock? Don't just bat it off and go, nah, don't worry about it, we'll be fine.
It's like when you do anything for the first time, isn't it? There's always that level of anxiety. About doing something, and sometimes you might feel bad about turning around and being like, I think we need to play on the clock, mate. So I've learned with my particular army custodies, I only have like 30 models, so I know that typically I can finish a game very quickly. My turns typically take minutes, whereas I'll be sat there just like with my legs crossed sometimes, just like chilling out, like waiting for my opponent to do theirs. And back in 9th, Admech used to have like 30-minute command phases.
Yeah.
Truth of the matter is, though, man. Truth of the matter is, you never know. Goonhammer, I went 3-3, and to be honest, one of my games, I was rushed in the last seconds of the game because the Seal was waiting for a score, and I did something, and I lost the game because I regen the wrong squad of gargoyles back, and they were a Knights player. I had 130 gaunts and 150 gaunts, and he took more time than me. And I was like, man, are you joking? And from there, I've kind of, you try and Dom makes a really good point, right? You try and weigh up the opponent, but realistically, you never know. And I think round 1, if you feel like you get it, okay, this guy's going to be all right, or this gal's going to be all right, cool. But as soon as you get to the later rounds, you never know what you're going to be playing. And I do recommend it. And again, Dom's with a great point here. If after half an hour, you're like, we haven't started this game yet, then get the clock out and go, look, we're going to split it half and half from here, because this is taking ages.
So, for example, at an East Anglian Grand Tournament and at EA Slam, we have a rule that from round 2 onwards, all top 3 tables must play on a clock.
It's good, cool. Yeah. That is good.
And the main reason that is, and we heavily suggest people play on a clock, and the main reason that is because if you were at those top tables for the tournament, I shouldn't be coming to you as a TO asking for scores. You should be well done in those time, and you should already be submitted. And it's kind of a practice that we want. So we don't do it for round 1 because there's no way of working it out. Round 1's always a bit sketchy. It goes into lunch, so that's fine. But it makes sense to do it like 2nd and 3rd round, especially, because and I always suggest to people, like, even up to 4, we have enough clocks for the top 5 tables, but it's mandatory for the first top 3, because those top 3 for the whole tournament can shape who wins. And it's very important that the top players throughout the tournament feel like they have are being equally represented and it's equally fair. And it's worked at the last 2 tournaments, and it's something I would advise. We've got another question. This one is... Oh, and Datsun was saying he wasn't deliberately suggesting slow playing, just an experience, and we completely agree with you, Datsun. Some people are just inexperienced and they play slower, and that can't be avoided. But
yeah, I would just reinforce that point, right? I've never had someone actively slow play me, but I have had people who are nervous and inexperienced and unsure of some of the rules, things like that. That's the thing that really slows it down, and it's absolutely not their fault. Great people, nice people, but it's just like, hang on, I'm glad you're here having a great time at your first, second, third tournament, but also I'm here at my 45th tournament, and I would like to try and win it, please.
I just want to win something. No, anyway.
Give me meaning, please.
Yeah, the top 10 in the world, baby.
Pay £50 for a ticket and £30 to share a room with someone else who plays this game overnight. Please, I need to make this weekend count.
You know what? This is probably the only hobby where I spend good amount of money, and I spend a good amount of money to experience some questionable levels of body odor.
Oh God.
Yeah.
But we're not going to get into that. But that's the point,
the Peterborough
right?
hotel we stayed in was the only place. Like Max, I was sharing the room with, he said that hotel was the only place that smells worse than a Warhammer tournament. Like it was rough, man. It smelled of all different shades of shit.
Toby at the weekend, we were walking through Peterborough, and he was like, "Man, why does Peterborough smell like unwashed arsehole?" And I was like, I don't know. It just, in this particular area, it just smelled pretty bad. But considering it's his first time to Peterborough, that's an unfortunate thing to have to experience. Anyway, we'll get to the question, Tony. I'm sorry, we've made you wait. Here's a question. If tactical is causing such an issue with people cheating the deck, are TOs better at ruling the event is fixed only? Now, we're going to answer this from 2 points of view. So obviously ITO, and then we're going to get the players' points of view, you guys who are experienced tournament players. I think as soon as you start adding extra bits to stop people having diversity in the way that they play, it makes it less fun and it makes it less appealing. So for me, if I turned around and said you have to play fixed, people will build a list of fixed, and they will be able to know that they will tank better into just about any army out there, because there are certain armies out there that can build to fixed better than other armies. Fact. Yeah. CSM, if it was just a fixed and it was versus any other army, they're going to struggle, because the fixed secondaries aren't great for every army. It doesn't work that way. Whereas tactical, it means that an all-comers list can literally draw something they can pretty much do every turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to put you in a time machine, Aaron. I want to put you in a time machine. Me, you, Dom, getting in the time machine. We're going back to 2 years ago when everyone's secondaries were to the last and stranglehold.
Oh, fuck it.
Oh my God.
Do you remember? Do you remember those days?
Oh,
I mean,
playing those Necron ones where they just auto-scored points for just walking on them.
Yeah. What about Swooping Hawks with Baharoth as your to the last? You're right, it breeds bad behaviors, and I've seen tournaments try and do this. Like again, War Games Workshop tried to do it with their event, and they ran the event, it went fine, but I know a lot of players who came out giving the feedback to them, which they acted upon, to never do that ever again, because you're right. Why would if you're going to build an army specifically for fixed, like if everyone does that, it's going to be way more boring. I think one of the big benefits of 10th is they've managed to balance fixed and tactical at a really good level.
Yeah, it's a weird one though, because I've been having this big dilemma at the moment, because I saw the success of the CSM list at the weekend that just took fixed every single round, and they did cleanse and they did deploy Telebiomas, and I was like, you're just going for 90s, but you're going for mass ball control and primary denial. So your actual whole game plan is to do actions while stopping their primary. You're not going for killing. And it was a really interesting way of looking how the game was played, especially in the final. But there's some armies just can't do that. Like, they just can't do that. Like Custodians would really struggle with kind of just doing fixed. Like, Aaron, what would the Custodians picks be? I mean, deploy Telebahomers, but then you have to take loads and loads of cheap units then to just recycle them away, and then behind enemy lines because you're taking Terminators off.
So this weekend I took fixed once, and that was going into Tau, and it was deploy teleport homers, and it was bring it down, because bring it down was an auto 20. Deployed teleport homers was very easy for me as well, because I had sisters and the way the board, I mean, Davey, you know, the way the board was on that last one, you could literally put a chaff unit in there and protect it the entire game, no problem, and just auto get 10 points on deploy teleport homer without actually having to do anything else. If I was going into any other matchup, I think I lose pretty much every time. Because most people can screen you out.
Yeah, they've chosen the right secondaries to be able to be fixed as well, I think, because if no prisoners was viable, like that would be one of the ones people would take, right?
As soon as you come across the horde, you just kill stuff, right? It goes back to like 7th, 6th edition where it was just kill. But I think the answer to that question is yes, there's an element of things can go wrong with tactical and a bit of cheating. But if you take away tactical and you keep fixed, you get back to the awfulness that was static secondaries of 9th. And nobody wants that again, because...
Yeah, especially with the faction ones, which some factions just had a massive bias.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember, though, at the end of 9th, we were all bagging ourselves like, oh, no, what's this new world going to be? They're taking away faction secondaries. And we were, I think, I was like, oh, this is going to be well weird. But it's so much better. The world is a better place.
The world's a better place. The only issue they have, the only mistake they made was with the balance of some of the indexes.
Eldar is mental. I
mean, we keep going on about it, and I'm not going to keep slating Eldari because look, they are a faction in the universe. We all love Warhammer. They're not great to play against, but it doesn't mean that they shouldn't be collected. It doesn't mean they shouldn't be played. It's not the players' fault that they just basically got flat better rules than every other fucker in the entire hobby. And
it's their fault for choosing them. And if you want to say Eldari, you can also say Ynnari.
I'm telling you now, the CSM list, you know, the 3 Lords, 3 Chosen, 3 Legionnaires, 3 Rhinos, that would not be a list if Eldar weren't this good. I'm telling you now. The reason why that list exists is because the top players went, you're either playing CSM or you're playing Eldar. Eldar can't kill the Rhinos, so therefore CSM win the matchup, and that's why they play that. Like, that's the only reason that list exists.
And they're going into lists. I think this is the perfect time to finally move on to Monday article. Now, Toby, we are going to have to say goodbye to you for a little while because you just don't fit in there. So everybody, say goodbye to Elder Toby. See you later. Bye, Elder Toby.
See you, Toby.
And here we come, guys. The Meta Monday. So obviously there was a big tournament that happened this weekend. Peterborough Sam. No, I'm joking. The bigger tournament was the Warhammer, dubbed Warhammer World Championship. Obviously, the Americans had to get there first. Not saying that I'm bitter, but seemed interesting. Oh, I've got rid of it there for a second.
It's easy to come first when you've got like 400 players.
Yeah, right. So, basically, the Warhammer 40,000 World Championships of Warhammer in Atlanta was only 174 players. Players were broken down into pods. Top 8 played a double elimination playoff. After that, the best played 3 more games with listed 9th and 10th placing. So before this, I asked Dom to have a look at some of the lists. I was like, Dom, look, I want you to come up and I want you to review these lists and I want you to talk about them because some people might not have access to see them. So obviously we know the man brought it home to the UK. Huge congrats, massive congratulations. He did it in style. He did it with drama, and
The Manny way.
he did it the Manny way. Well done, Manny, on getting and bringing home the bacon, or probably not the bacon. That's probably not correct, but bringing home the trophy. So he took his CSM. So Dom, take us away. Tell me and Davey, what did that man take?
Oh, so this is a list after my own heart because I absolutely love a Cursed Cultist, and this basically merges my favorite thing about Chaos, which is Cursed Cultist and durability and being all like a massive hobby project for me. So it's that with a meta list. It's literally a sandwich. So it's 3 dark communes, which give a buff to a Cursed Cultist. They give them once per game a bust and charge. They give them +1 to win, +1 to hit once per game. But they also give a 5-up invuln to this unit. Okay, then he's got 3 units for Cursed Cultist. So one's Nurgle, so he can go lone up and you can't do anything about it. So it can't be hit with like Night Spinners for slow and all that sort of stuff. And then the other 2 are the killy ones, which can do which are undivided for the rerolls to hit and wound stratagem for 1 CP. Then he's got 3 Chaos Lords, which are accompanied with a Power Hammer, Thunder Hammer, and a Plasma Pistol. They can go Super Saiyan for once per game, and they become uber killy. He get extra AP, extra damage on the Thunder Hammer, all this sorts of lovely stuff. And they get a free stratagem once. 1 Lord per battle round can get a free stratagem. So it can be armor contempt, it could be rerolls to hit and wound, all that sort of goodness. Then they're accompanied by Chosen, super cheap, super effective, 3 wound models, loads of attacks, power fists, cursed weapons, all that stuff, with Legionnaires. Legionnaires are also very cheap, and they get to reroll wounds on objectives. They have loads of attacks in combat, 2 damage, all this lovely jubbly stuff, OC2. And they're all that little package of Lords, Legionnaires, and Chosen are all in Rhinos, and there's 3 Rhinos. So he's got 3 Dark Communes, 3 Lords, 3 Chosen, 3 Accursed Cultists, 3 Rhinos, 3 of everything basically meta at the moment. And what this list is built on is ball control. It does secondary objectives very well. It just does deploy teleport homers and cleanse because it's got so many rhinos. Those rhinos move 12, turn 1, jump straight onto an objective, and it can cleanse there, and then it can go deploy teleport homers there, deploy teleport homers wherever it wants. Then to accompany that, it's got 1 squad of Nurglings just for a bit of forward deploy. Or to, if you can't screen very well, they'll go into deep strike and they'll get a really easy deploy teleport homer. And then it's just got a lovely Forge Fiend, which is Nurgle, which obviously best strat in the game, the Nurgle stratagem. That's just to keep you honest, because if you hear no shooting, then you can kind of just do what you want. So the list is very durable. So every single Accursed Cultist unit will have 3 wounds coming back in every player's command phase, yours and theirs. And you get 3 wounds back. That's either a big guy or 3 little dudes, but only if they're obviously wounded. They can retake objectives, which is quite nice, as long as they're in direct coherency. They can kind of you can bring all 3 models back at the same time instead of objective. They're 2 OC each. They're insanely hard to kill with the 5-up invuln, 6-up Finna Pain, toughness 4, and then they've got accompanied wounds of like there's 10 little guys and 6 big guys, and the big guys got 3 wounds each. So if you shoot a las cannon at them, then all the little guys die. But then if you shoot flamers, all the big guys will die. So you don't get efficiency into them, and that is kind of the crux of the list. It basically guarantees 45 in primary, and I play with 1 Accursed Cultist, and I think that guarantees. The other 2 units basically screen the board, so you cannot do secondaries very well, like behind enemy lines. You can't do engage very well, that sort of stuff, because if you get close, they'll just launch at you. And I've done 22 wounds to a knight before with the fully buffed up Accursed Cultist unit, and they're no joke. They slap. And you should be scared of them if you face them. Treat them with respect as well. 1 unit is always going to be defensive and maintaining primary. 1 will be screening, and then 1 will late game basically be like, so you've got nothing left that can kill these accursed? Right, no primary for you for the rest of the game. because it's something like 40 something OC. It's just a bit much. And that's the base of the list. Primary denial, built-in secondaries, and is just a plug and play. And when people are building a lot into killing vehicles like Redemptors, Night Spinners, Knights, all this sort of stuff, a horde army like this just takes you by surprise.
Yeah, it sounds. You know what? It sounds actually very difficult to deal with. And I'm sitting here whilst you were talking about it, and I was thinking, what sort of army actually would do well into a cursed cultist? And I was like, obviously I play Custodes, and I'm like sitting there thinking, right, well, maybe Custodes, because they've got the Terminators with the blast, and then they can also shoot with the spears, and then they can charge, so they could potentially do enough damage, but you don't have the points to have enough of them to be able to deal with the volume that'd be on there. And the thing is, this, from the sounds of it with this unit, if you don't kill it flat dead, which sounds very difficult to do, if you don't kill it flat dead, you've got a problem, because they're still going to be there. And there's only so much. Once you dedicate an asset to dealing with it, and if you don't deal with it, you're then out in the open. You lose your asset, and that asset of your opponent grows back.
Yeah, exactly. And they're durable, they're fast. With the once per game advance and charge, it's just so good. And the trick with them as well is, like, if a couple of them die in your turn, it'll just bring a single big guy back, which is like, so you got a 2-inch coherency plus, what is it? I can't remember the size of the base, like 2.5-inch base. So that's 5 inches. It's moved closer to you. And then now it's going to move 6, and then a d6, and then 2d6 towards you. And then it's going to go, boom. Each big guy has d6 plus 2 attacks, strength 5, AP 1, 2 damage, with exploding 6s or auto wounds on the 6s. Pop CP, rerolls everything. It's a lot of damage. But if you have the tools, you can just smash them. Like I've had my curse been one shot. Aggressors, one shot them.
Yeah,
the Terminators for the Votan, literally look at them in Overwatch and the whole squad dies, because they give up 4 blasts. So if you have like 1 million grenade launchers, the whole thing just dead.
Yeah, this is what I was thinking. Alara's Terminators, because if you have a unit of 6, they get 4 plus d6. Then they've also got their 12 spear shots. And then you've got to deal with, if they get in combat, you've then got to deal with 30 attacks on sustained 1.
It's a lot.
Which I think would probably pick up the unit, but
it tries to. It definitely tries to.
Can Abaddon give him a 4-up in Vuln as well?
Yeah. So that's what Manny was running at LGT, but because Abaddon in your command phase can go re-rolls, battle shock, or invuln. So you can. That's what Manny did. He had just mass cultists doing that. But I don't think it's worth it, because
it's volume of fire that's going to take out that unit.
People really just can't kill him. They either can kill the entire army, or they can't. And there's some armies that just can. Like Votan is the worst matchup.
Interesting.
That is interesting. So let's actually have a look at the rest of the results. So in second place was Space Marines Vanguard. Dom, did you get a chance to have a look at that list at all?
Yes, I actually played it. One of the other players on our team played against me the other night with it, and it was disgusting. So shout out to Ben Shapiro for that. But it's basically, the whole list is basically it's got a massive unit of Centurions, which every single turn for a CP can come off the table, and it basically plays jump around, keep away. So it basically jumps around so that it gets lines with its las cannons. So it's 6 las cannons, hitting on 2s, rerolling hits, and then it has I think they reroll wounds as well, because they're twin linked. So they're really efficient at killing tanks there, because there's 6 of them. And then they also have grenade launchers, which are also really, really good, because they're 2 damage grenade launchers as well. So really good into a cursed, that sort of thing. But if you don't have like flat 3 damage, like Forge Fiends, for example, then they don't have to be as honest when they jump about. They can literally just rapid ingress and just be like, you can't kill me, I'm going to kill half you, like quite a bit of your army. Then, so that every single turn is jumped about, and the end of your turn, it gets pulled off, and then they start their turn, it comes back on. So it's really hard to play with. Um, then it has scouts, which can come off the ball, come on the ball, can screen. It's got the best unit in the game, which is the plasma interceptors. They drop in within 3 inches. They got 3 plasma pistols each, and they go two. They have 2 plasma pistols each, but they overcharge. They get strength 9 with buffs, and they just flat through damage stuff, and they're really horrible. So there's a 6, a 6, and a 3. I'm pretty sure. Then he has company heroes, which are with a captain, which give you a CP a turn, and company heroes is just the cheapest point for wound allocation you can get for like bodyguards, so they can kind of sit and do objectives. They can kind of stay back and still be quite a good combat hit, because the heavy bolter they have is really, really good. It's got sustained hits too, I'm pretty sure. And then with that, it's also got the infiltrators, which the 12-inch denial, which is really nice. And then what else does this have?
Some dreads in it, right?
Sorry?
You got some dreads in it?
No dreads. No dreads. I'll literally, because that was all.
That's aggressors. Sorry, aggressors.
Yes, aggressors. That's the main part of the list. So it's got Marnie's Calgar and an Apothecary Biologist with a massive unit of aggressors. So bearing in mind, you have the Centurions, which are bouncing around all the time. Then you've got the Central Force, which has a really, really hard hitting combat unit, and they can basically advance and charge in the same turn, and they can also advance and shoot. So you just have this massive output where they basically go, oh, I'm going to advance, kill an entire unit of Cursed Cultists, and then I'm going to get charged sideways and kill a Forge Fiend, or like I'll kill an Alaris unit, and I'll charge in with my Power Fist, kill another Alaris unit. They're just super fast. And when I played it again the other day, he got a first turn charge. He killed my screen with shooting and then charged the thing behind it, and I was like,
oh,
the dream. Famously fast aggressors as well, right? 6-inch move.
Oh, yeah, now the 6-inch move, right? It's a good thing to bring up, actually. The thing that makes this list really good is the feint that they do for the CP, which is the Eldar trick of when they get close, they run away. So it's really good because they can position themselves not on objectives, and you come close, then they go, see you later. I'm now going to get more army than I should. Yeah. So they can bait you into things like that. They can also bait you into not being able to charge you. And then there's other mechanics like that. You can like go forwards and that sort of thing. So it's really, really interesting. And then on top of this as well, I forgot to say, there's 2 units of Eradicators with metal rifles. It's a lot, right? That's a lot in the list. It's so cheap. How the hell have Eradicators 95 points?
So I think so. When we go down lower, we'll look at some of the statistics. And Space Marines are a really difficult one. Me and Don, we talked about this last week. We said that it's difficult to judge Space Marines because they have so many sub factions. But I think they're actually performing quite well.
They're amazing.
So the rest of the World Championships, the 3rd and 4th won't surprise you. It was Chaos Space Marines. 5th was Eldari. So obviously they're still there. 6th. Now this is the thing that I was very surprised when I saw this, especially at the World Championships. Necrons.
Yeah.
6 and 2. I wasn't expecting to see Necrons up there because a lot of people you speak to are speaking quite negatively about their Necron armies at the minute. They're all saying they don't do enough damage, or they don't do enough this, or they don't do enough that. So
it's super boring, right? I mean, this is the thing. I have a bit of a joke on our podcast about just Necrons being like the dullest army, because you basically go into the middle and say, "Can I stay alive?" And you just try and not die.
But then in 9th, they were one of the most boring armies as well, in my opinion.
They're always boring.
It's boring.
So boring.
They're robot people. They're boring.
I know.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like a lot of their models, they got a cool concept and they've got a cool idea. But it's again like sometimes Games Workshop, when they write these rules and they write the backstory, you're just like, If only they had
Oh,
a little
man.
bit more pizzazz, you know.
Well, I'm glad they're getting a book, right? Because I don't want them to be boring Necrons for all of 10th. So they're going to get a book with a bunch of factions that'll give them loads of interesting things. There'll be a Destroyer faction. There'll be the geezers who wear human skin on their metal. Like, there'll be that faction.
Great ones, yeah.
Flared ones. I mean, they're cool. They are the coolest thing in Necrons.
Can we just change their name to being the geezers with skin on them? Because cause that's just better than flayed ones.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I never like it when Necrons are good because they're just miserable. Because they're just like, do you remember the edition? I remember when James Marsden went to, I think it was like 3 events in a row where he just 100'd all of his opponents.
Yeah, because his secondaries were just madness, weren't they?
They were.
Yeah,
madness.
they did all of them the first 3 turns, and then that's it. They just don't do anything else. They just stop you from scoring primary, and they go, "Do you want to go again?"
And they just stick down all those stupid scarabs, and it's the scarabs to score them endless amount of points. And scarabs shouldn't be that hard to kill, and they were ridiculous, and they were bringing them back, and you're just like, oh, this is just BS. We're gonna move on. Eldari came 7th, Black Templars, Black Tempers, and then in 10th was Death Guard.
Cheeky Death Guard.
Cheeky Death
LGT winner playing them as well.
Yeah.
Only lost one game, but look where he came. He lost one game and came 10th. Strength of schedule is the worst.
Didn't someone come 4-4 and came 8th? Yeah. Imagine going 4-4 and coming 8th place.
Could you imagine? Yeah, you turn around, you've lost 4 games, you've won 4 games. There's no way you're sitting there and you're thinking, oh man, I'm going to be at the bottom of this particular pod. And then the next thing you know, you're like, oh shit, I've done better than the guy that won 7 and lost 1.
Yeah, because he's guaranteed. It's like, oh, I've only lost 1 game. I'm guaranteed 4th place. Nope, you're now 10th.
Try harder next time, mate.
Get good, mate. Get good.
Get good. Just get good.
Sorry that
it's the same for 11th place. They only lost 1 game. 12th place only lost 1. What the hell, man?
Yeah, that doesn't seem to make sense to me. Anyway, we're gonna move on. There was another massive tournament in the world, and that was in Holland, and it was called the Alliance Open Grand Tournament, which is an interesting name. But that was a 6-rounder, 107 players, so they had a very good turnout. And top of the pack with the Tyranids Invasion. Now, we have got a Tyranid player with us tonight, and he is a big fanboy of the buggies. Come on, Davey. What did you make?
I don't know what this list is, man. You didn't prep me for this. I'm just Googling it quickly.
All right, we'll come back to him. So in second was the Dark Angels with their Ironstorm. Then we've got Eldari. Yeah. Then we've got Blood Angels with Firestorm. Very nice. Eldari, Sisters, Necrons, Templars, and then Thousand Suns.
Now, Thousand Suns, get in.
I'm quite excited about the next tournament as well because I actually haven't had a look. I was intending to go and have a look at the list at some point, but I was busy all during having a job and getting home a little bit later. But Custodes people finally got 5-0 at a tournament.
No way, it's because everyone good was playing it elsewhere.
To be fair, it had 80 players. It's in America, Minneapolis.
It's pretty good.
80 players, 5 rounds. I mean, America is a big place, right? So they can pretty much throw a tournament just about any state, and they'll probably be able to populate it quite well.
Although getting anywhere is a nightmare. I think that's the problem.
Oh yeah, no. These people when they go to their tournaments, they have to fly to every single one.
Oh yeah, imagine that. Imagine if we had to fly to Peterborough Slam.
Oh. I just wouldn't go. like I've thought about going to like Ireland tournaments and Scottish tournaments. I'm just like, it's just so far. But then in America, it's like that's what they would drive. They would drive like the length of the country just to go to an event.
When you hear them talk about a podcast, they're like, "Oh, I drove 5 hours to get there." I did say me and Arron Wilson from 6++ also, we went to Barcelona for a GT, and that was really good fun. It was really, really good. They were like, "Why are you here?"
And we were like, "We don't know."
We wanted to come and play with you guys, and they were like, "You guys are insane." But it was really good fun. The cultural differences were really, really interesting. Though it was really, I would recommend doing a European event. Like it's super cool.
I have got plans in the future to have some European players on the podcast. I'd love to get their opinion on sort of like the different types of meta around the world. Like how do they rank the UK meta?
You should get Yokel on.
Don't you think that would be a really cool
he refs events as well in the Zach's events in the UK, but then he's like one of the most savage members of the Polish team. Like he's so good.
So I think that would be quite a good one. Anyway, we're going to move on. We're going to go through this because we've been here for an hour already. Let's
look at that NID list for you.
Oh yeah, come on, tell us the NID list. Right.
So it's invasion fleet. So they get to choose the benefit they get at the start of the game in terms of like how they will approach it. So they say the 6 is explode against infantry, 6 is auto win vehicles, which is the one you take the most in Tyranids because you have no chance of wounding a vehicle, or very little chance rather. And the other one is precision, but you never take that one. So Death Leaper, 70 points of absolute value. Hive Tyrant, perfectly adapted, rerolling 1 dice pretty much for anything he wants to try. He or she wants to try. Neuro Tyrant, all one ice cool. He's one of the ways we can kill a vehicle. He's like strength 14. You put him with 2 Carnifexes and he absolutely goes to town with rerolling all their hits. His Carnifex is now hit on 4s, which is big sad face.
No,
that's not too bad. So they hit on 4 shooting and in melee. So the only way to make them viable is to put rerolls on them with all one eye. And then Gargoyles, because for me, one of the best units in the game, they fire and fade, and they fire and fade. They have assault weapons. They have movement 12. They can deep strike. They're really awesome. And then just all the kind of Tyranny good stuff. So 3 Exocrines, which is becoming a bit of a staple in Tyrannid lists. Just a really, really good value gun on a 135-point body. Haruspex, I don't know. Haruspex is interesting. I'd like to see how he used that. Malicept is a great value. He's got 2 of those. And then it's kind of like Neurogaunts. 3 Neurolictors, 65-point lone up with a 4 pinball and 7 wounds. Try getting rid of that, easy. And then just some bits of chaff. So that's how he does it. Really, realistically, he seems to be quite aggressive. He's probably running into the mid-board with his Hive Tyrant, giving all of the monsters with all their good guns assault. Runs into the mid-board and just literally tries to fight his opponent to death with all one eye and some Carnifexes.
Do you think that list would survive in a UK meta scene?
Yeah. So if you recall, there's a list that went to an event, and it was the Teams event, the WCT Teams event, and the American chap brought it. I can't think what his name was. The Captain of America. Captain America, so to speak.
So Captain America brought Tyranids.
Yeah, he brought Tyranids, and then I played Nathan Roberts at an event, and he kind of brought this similar list to this. It's it's all the stuff's in there to make it work. There's a couple of tweaks that I can see that they've made, but everything's in there to make it work, and it just kind of takes over the board slowly. It's quite survivable. You can drop for 1 CP, you can put a 5 of Feel No Pain on a unit. So say you need to kill this Maliceptor, 5 of Feel No Pain, 4 of Pinball, toughness 11, 14 wounds. Like that's a tough thing to kill. And then if you go, okay, I'll just shoot the other Maliceptor as well instead. Then your Hive Tyrant goes, I'll just put it on them as well. So 5 of Feel No Pain on them as well. So there is ways to do it, but we're not exactly the most killy faction. We're not the most survivable. We're somewhere kind of in the middle.
Okay. Well, that's a fantastic breakdown. Thank you very much. Oh, I lost it for a second there. We're going to go through. We're going to kind of go towards the end because there's a lot of big tournaments actually happen this weekend of like 80 players, 71 players. I don't think we have time to really review Peterborough Slam, but one of the players that did win Peterborough Slam is actually a Mind Goblin. And what was really funny about that, when I was chatting to him, he actually forgot to put himself down as a Mind Goblin. I'm going to throw him under the bus.
Not again. Not again. Every time.
There was a Mind Goblin at Worlds as well, right?
Yeah, Aiden. He made it all the way there. It was really good. I think he 3-2 or 2-3. Like he did really well. He did really, really well. And he was giving us the brief afterwards, and he was saying like he feels like he won the games that he should win, and lost only the games that he didn't think he could win, which is taking sisters as well. So it's best players in the world playing there, and like if I went, winning one game would be my my goal. So he did really well.
So I actually played Aiden at EA Slam. I was the buy. I got to literally play into him and like be really chill about it. I didn't have to really think about it, and I just said to him, "Okay, let's just play it so that I can show you some of the things custodians do. Like I'll deliberately do a load of this stuff." We had a great game, and he was a very nice person to play against as well. He really is a great representative of the Mind Goblins gaming team. Like there's a lot of great representatives of the 6+++ team as well. Like there was a few of them at Peterborough Slam. I've obviously had the pleasure of meeting quite a lot of them at my own events, and then also again at Peterborough Slam. Me and Davey have played in the past, and that was a great game we had. And yeah, let's talk about your gentleman that forgot to put himself as a Mind Goblin, but he went 5-0 at Peterborough Slam.
Yeah. He continues to surprise. Like the thing is, he runs an off-meta army as well.
Yeah,
like
man.
he I think is one of the most slept lists out there, because it's just abuses everything that is wrong with the game at the moment, and it's just like insane indirect, and just recycling bodies that come back every single time. Like it's a lot of DACA. I can bring up the list and properly talk about it.
I know that Jack played him in the last round. So Jack of 6++ fame, he played him in the last round and just got and Jack, reasonably beat a lot of his opponents on the way there, but then he got into that game and by his own admission, he got bodied.
Yeah. So basically the list revolves around. So you got Gaunt's Ghost, really cheap, really easy. They just do secondaries. They move block stuff. They just do nice things. Lord Surler gives benefits to all the shooting. Then he's got Creed, who also gives you benefits to the game plan, which I'm just about to go over, which is Killian Shockjuice, Cassia Jungle Fighters, Jungle Fighters, Jungle Fighters, Jungle Fighters, Jungle Fighters, Death Corps, right? So you've got a sea of bodies in front of you, and every single turn he can, if you kill one of them, and he'll just trickle one out of turn, out because he's moving, blocking you, and stopping primary and playing that game. He is just going to bring them on for 1 TP every single turn. And then the reason why he's move blocking you and creating these massive walls of guardsmen is because he's got 2 basilisks, 2 Medusa carriage batteries, and a massive Rogel Dawn tank. And what they're basically doing is tabling you. They literally go, if you go second into this list and don't have something like Nurgle or transports, you're a bit screwed, because even though the Medusa carriages are only like T6, 6 wounds or whatever, they're really easy to kill. They just overtrade what they do, because they can hit you from out of line of sight. They get bonuses from I think it's Krieg, but also because they're not vehicles, he can bring them back. So if you kill one with interest, just bring it back.
No way.
Yeah, I think I'm 99% sure it's that model. And there's another one as well. It's like the Thud Gun or something like that. But so they're really horrible because you want to kill them because they're like strength 8, AP 1 or 2, and then flat 3 damage. The only bonuses against them would be if you have -1 to hit, because they get +1 because they're heavy and something stupid like that. But basically, it's a list which has a muscle tank which can push forward to get the good hard angles. It can also body you. And it has just this huge sea of guardsmen which are actually really hard to kill. And if you can't kill almost like 3 units a turn of the guardsmen, which they some over 6 at Finnerpain, some over 6 at Bimburn, then you will just get killed. Because what he'll do, he'll kill everything that can kill the guardsmen, and then you're just stuck shooting melter guns at the bloody guardsman, which will shrug it on the 6th. And then still he has Vect. He's got the assassin. He's got cheap 20-man Novitiate squads, rattling snipers. He's even got Tempest.
Oh, that's a troll. That rattling snipers is a troll. Surely, are they any good now?
They just infiltrate, and then they just stop anyone getting close turn one. So that's the idea. Just like move blocks you, and I just don't know what to do. If I played against it with my list, which is a gunline list, I would be like, cool, I'll just kill everything turn one. Nope, you can't, because you can't see anything. It's all small little infantry and buildings, and then when you move up, we'll create a massive wall that you can't do anything. And they'll just be taking a primary whilst doing really well in secondaries, because they've got assassins, they've got temper science, they've got rattlings, all these things. And then you just getting hit with the artillery, and then you have a Rogal Dawn running up at you. So, yeah, it's a hardcore list, and he's thought a lot about it, and it's really, really solid.
Great list design, eh?
Yeah, it's the list that I think a lot of guardsmen are going to look at when I think Eldar go. I think they're worried about Eldars indirect and the whirlwinds, but I don't think they need to, because actually guard actually lose the indirect war if they go second, because they pick up the Medusa carriages because they're only like 6 wounds. So if you can get to them, they're really good. But if you can't, they just smash you.
So
sorry, one last thing, a question I had for Dom as well. Are you surprised at how few whirlwinds there are in the meta at the moment? Because I thought it would be whirlwind central.
Yeah, I think people played it and then they either lost or they were just like, it's boring. Because I played against one of the Mind Goblins, Louis, and he played it, and it was actually quite underwhelming. Like, the Redemptors were way better, the Redeemer was way better. But to make the triple whirlwind with all the buffs for exploding 6s, hitting on 2s, also wounds on 6s, that package is quite a lot of points, and you can just take more Redemptors, and it's actually better.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a. There is still play in the hobby. Obviously, we know January there is going to be a data slate, so we're going to see some balances brought out. Now, before I go into a very interesting part of it, we're going to talk about the win percentages. Now, guys, who do you think is sitting right at the top? Did you do your homework and have a look and see who was and have a look at the article or the percentages, or did you miss it? Who do you think's at top?
I missed it, but I reckon CSM at top.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot, like I said this last time, there's a lot of CSM players because they're one of the hobby armies.
So, right, here we go. At top of the pile, and I'm going to say they're top of the pile, even though there are some with technically higher percentages, but I'm going to say this because they have the largest player base of them all. Let me just double check to make sure I'm not lying. Yeah. So the highest player base with a 10-week win percentage, and we'll do a weekend win percentage, but a 10-week win percentage, 87 players over this weekend. Eldari with 57%.
Still, oh my god.
Alright, so Black Templars and Iron Storm Spearhead, 13 players took that. They achieved a 64% win rate.
Yeah, man. If you haven't played that, it's mental. It's like when Custodies just got released. It was... I played against it round one of Hellstorm Wargaming, and I was bullied. I was bullied.
So I think CSM are sitting at quite a healthy... well, maybe it's not healthy, but at a 55% win rate.
Nice. Yeah. Don't nerf him. It's absolutely fine. Don't nerf him.
You need a small touch. I don't think you need a massive touch, because we all know what happens when they touch an army that are at around the 55-54%, and then they drop them down to 42%. It's not bitter.
Honestly, it's the Chaos Lords you need to fix. It's Chaos Lords and Chosen just need to be bumped up a bit. I would put a Chaos Lord at about 100 points, and they're 75. That's it. They're just like it's certain builds are a bit too cheap, but my build, like I think, is correctly costed, which is the gun line. Like, I have to take a tax of nearly 400 points just to make it good. Yeah.
Do you know?
I hope they don't nerf them too bad, because I really enjoy playing them.
Well, we'll see in January. An army that has probably surprised everyone a little bit with just how strong they now are is Leagues of Votan. They were represented 42 times.
They're filthy.
And they are at a 55% win rate now over 10 weeks. That's impressive.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
impressive.
they're good, man. That
But they're-
Sagittarius spam is really something.
But you know
Yeah.
what? The Sagittars don't do very well into a Custodes matchup. That was something I learned. My opponent actually turned around and said to me that they actually have like a 48% win rate into Custodes, and I was like thinking, man, that's nearly like a 50%. Like, that's not far off 50%, so it's not that bad. Like,
Yeah.
that's still pretty good. We'll keep having a look at some of the other top ones, and we'll have a look at the bottom of the pack as well. So
What world eaters at? Okay, out of
55.
curiosity.
World Eaters are at 55% as well, but for the weekend, but they're at 51% over a 10-week period.
I bet that will go down when Custodes get some help, because they're bound to get their feeling of pain back. So
Well, to be fair, it's going to go down once everyone gets the Christmas boxes, and everyone who listened to Anthony Vanilla's podcast about them will be like, "Oh, how do I play this?" And then they just crash and burn at Coventry, at Leicester.
yes,
Yeah.
and we'll be picking them up.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Leicester. So the very bottom of the pack, there are two armies. Can you guys guess who do you think are the bottom of the pack at the minute?
I think Tyranny's.
I reckon Drakari, and I reckon Harlequins aren't a faction anymore, are they?
No.
No.
So I reckon it's Drakari and something. Who is terrible? Who's terrible? Who's an army which I look at and I go, they're rubbish.
Well, it's an army I look at and I think, wow, some people play it really well, and then for some reason other people just crash it into the ground. Is Admech.
Is that who you're talking about? Because they're really high skill cap.
So
I think you need to be different level intelligence to play Admech well.
Admech are at a 46%
Good shout.
rating. Admech are 46%. Gene Stealer Cultist 47%.
Oh,
This is over a 10-week period. We don't look at the weekend because you don't know how many times they're represented. So we look over a 10-week because it gives you a more of a rounded number. Chaos Demons 47%. The two bottom factions of the 10-week period is Drakari at the very bottom with 41%. Adeptus Custodes at 42%.
Custodes? No way! Oh my god, that shocks me. Because I still think they're legit. Like, I like them still, but Drakari, yeah, they suck. They're so bad.
what about Knights hanging out there at 44%?
Yeah,
Oh.
Knights have had a massive dip, 44%. Well, actually, that's their weekend rating. Let's have a look at the 10 week.
Custodes, man, yeah, give them some help. I want to see the Golden Boys back.
43%. 43%. Now,
Yikes.
I struggled to get a 3-2 this weekend.
Really?
So I lost me and Davey both tanked our first two games. We were like, we're going to see you later. We kept saying to each other, we're going to end up playing each other. And we managed to somehow, on the same win path, avoid each other completely. We lost our two first games, won our last 3 games. But
Nice, finish strong.
But for me, I think Davey would have been in the same position as well, because you scored 1 point more than me in battle points for the whole tournament. He got 412. I got 411 over. So that means even though we took L's, we dropped less than 100 points over the entire weekend.
Damn. Damn. That's impressive, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I remember my first game came down to the last dice roll, and then the second game I played awful. I hate Hammer and Anvil when you're looking at the table lengthways.
Oh, it hurts my head.
Yeah, man, I'm like, I need to move things over there, but I have to go around the table. Ugh.
And it always seems so far away because it's the other side of the table, not just like the sides.
Yeah.
Like, I totally get you.
When I told my opponent like that I was basically at one point I'd have seven units up in reserve and I'd only have 4 units on the table. They're like, what? You can do that? I was like, yeah, I can, because I've got 3 in reserve. All my Terminators and my Assassin can just come up. And then, because the first thing someone said to me was like, oh, Custodes really slow. And I was just like,
Nah.
Well, we'll see.
Don't get-
We'll see, won't we? And then I rapid ingressed 3 units, and then I brought down the other 3. And the same list went 3-0 at a previous tournament, and then I went 3-2 this weekend. But I went into Eldari round 1, which was a rough matchup. I scored 70 something odd points to their 100. But that was rough. And the second game I went into Death Guard, and I lost by 3 points against the Death Guard, because I went for the win. So it would have been a point loss if I didn't go for this play to try and get the win. But it was also, I made a silly error. I discarded my card too early. I did a 1 CP discard too early, and if I'd have done it in the last round, discarded it, I'd have drawn area denial, which would have given me the auto win.
No.
Yeah.
So I learned a lesson. I learned a really valuable lesson in that game. That don't discard early, discard late. Really valuable. Turn 1, don't discard you. Don't discard.
Turn 1, don't discard. Get in the CP, man.
Yeah, I learned a valuable lesson.
Thank you.
Yeah, I should bank it more often.
Yeah. Or just because you can't do fix with bloody custodians at the moment.
Well, I did fix against the Tau because that was obvious.
Right, yeah, when they give you it up, it's fine.
But yeah, so the meta at the minute, it's looking rather bleak. We're going to be wrapping up this evening. It's been a great having you both on. I've thoroughly enjoyed this week's talking about the meta, talking about some of our new community aspects of like looking at cool armies that we saw at a local tournament. The next big tournament, we've got 12 Black Crow members going to EAGT. We then have a further 7 Black Crow members down at Cross Swords as well. So next weekend, folks, we have about 20 Black Crow players playing in tournaments across the country.
When's the EAGT?
Sorry?
When's the EAGT?
25th, 26th of November, EAGT. There is 5 tickets remaining for that in Norwich. So
if someone wanted to buy a ticket, where would they find it, Arron?
So this is how we're gonna do this, Davey. In the bottom of in the links at the bottom, there will be links for 6++ podcast, which I'll add in. There'll be links for Let's Talk Wargaming for Dom. There'll be the EAGT. There'll be Peterborough Slam links as well. You can find us on our Black Crow Gaming Discord, which is in the link in the bottom, and our Facebook as well. It's been great having you guys. I hope you've enjoyed the experience. Thank you everybody for joining us. We're going to see you next week. We've also got Leicester coming up, and I think Dom, you're going. Davey, are you going to be there at Leicester?
Is that the one in January?
No, Leicester's the one in December. First weekend of December.
Right. No, I'm going the one in January. Nottingham.
Yeah, Nottingham. So I'll be at Leicester. So if anybody who watches this is at Leicester, come say hi to myself or to Toby or to Dom. We'd love to chat to you. But from us at Black Crow Gaming, thank you very much. If you like what you see, like and subscribe. Also, one big thing. We've got a big announcement for you. Soon, next week, I'm going to be announcing our first channel sponsor.
Yay!
I'm awaiting our gift from them. We're going to do a big review. It's going to be a 15-minute review. We're going to show it all off. But it looks amazing. I'm not going to give it away just yet because we're gonna do a big video about it. We're going to have some fun with it. But it's super cool, really reasonably priced product, and you're all going to love it. So catch us next week so we can do our reveal. Anyway, it's Arron from Black Crow Gaming. Thank you all very much. Like and subscribe. See you later, guys.
Bye-bye.